One crypto project that I have been fully locked in on almost all of 2025 has been ONDO. This thing is severely overlooked and undervalued right now in this space, and it's for many reasons that I will go over in this video and address. Now, right off the rip, just taking a quick look at ONDO. We are hovering under $1. I said anything under $1 is a steal for ONDO. And right now, looking at the 1-year view on this chart, there's something very interesting happening. And I don't know if a lot of you will understand or maybe even see it, but I'm sure that there's a lot of you out there that also do know what's happening on this chart. And that is consolidation. This chart has been consolidating for quite some time. And the time frame on this, since we hit our low back here in March, we have been consolidating for 182 days. Yes, technically, it's been a little bit longer. It's been over 200 days if we go all the way back to like the March price action where this officially started to, creep into this bottom area. However, I would like to go off of just the April lows because that's where the market did officially bottom out. But since then, ONDO has been going sideways. Yes, we are in a nice little uptrend here. Yes, we have that fake out from June. But for the most part here, ONDO has been very, very boring. The second that we start to clear some of these key levels, like for example, $1.12. If we could break over this $1.12 level or even just get a weekly candle close over this $1.08 level, then ONDO is going to go absolutely crazy just like it did back here in October into December. Now, ONDO's high on this chart is about $2.15. Sure, that's a great high. I still think that ONDO can easily hit like $5+ this cycle because of everything happening around ONDO. This thing has been consolidating. It consolidated before as well when it did go crazy. Right here we have that consolidation. Now, this was a very short amount of consolidation. We had that significant sell-off, and then we consolidated for about roughly 91 days. And I would argue it was about 84 days because the next candle here was the beginning of that impulse. So about 84 days, and then ONDO did a nice, quick, 200 and roughly like 66% push. It's a little bit higher, right? 269% push to the upside. Going off of where we currently are, I would argue that we could easily double that. We'll just say like 500+%. Okay. So around like 500%. Because again, the longer the consolidation, the higher that we go, the longer the base, the higher in space, right? You guys already heard that saying, but it is true, right? The longer that we will consolidate, the higher that we will go. And this time around, I do think that alt season will officially be hitting in a big way. And if we're looking at that, like $5.66, I think that that's pretty fair when it comes to ONDO. I think that that's a conservative price target as well. And it's about roughly a little under double that value from back here where we did consolidate for about 84 days. This was still a great push to the upside. And, there was not nearly as much substance around ONDO then as there is today, especially with all of the big narratives happening in crypto, stablecoins, tokenization, all of that. ONDO is absolutely killing the tokenization game right now, but we don't really see a big spotlight put on ONDO. Let's go over here real quick and let's talk about this top 10 projects within the leading narrative around RWAs. This is from Top 7 ICO, Top Promising Real-World Asset Projects to Watch. RWA projects are accelerating adoption of tokenized assets, bridging traditional finance with blockchain infrastructure. Here's a look at the top 10 projects leading the narrative. Looking at the top 10, number 1 is ONDO. That's right. ONDO number 1. We also have a few other ones here like Stable, AVNT, Plume, BSN, Eden, Huma, Velo, White, and Usual. But the fact that ONDO is number 1 here, it's kind of crazy. I mean, listen, ONDO has been absolutely destroying the competition when it comes to RWAs. The things that ONDO continues to announce and push are very, very exciting for the future of tokenization because it's putting a spotlight on specific markets that are moving on chain, that are being disrupted by crypto. I mean, crypto is ultimately disrupting every single TradFi market and industry. And this is something that we've talked about for years happening, and it's finally happening now. But also, ONDO just continues to have incredible months of adoption. For example, here we have September was a defining month for ONDO. With tokenization going mainstream, regulatory clarity emerging, and institutional adoption accelerating, Q4 is set to be pivotal. Here we have from ONDO, September marked ONDO's most significant month to date, from the launch of ONDO Global Markets to WisdomTree joining the Global Markets Alliance and USDY now live on Stellar. ONDO is executing on its vision to build an open economy accessible to all. Now, here are the highlights. Number one, ONDO Global Markets did launch on September 3rd. This featured 100 plus tokenized stocks and ETFs, which we'll put a spotlight on in this video as well. OUSG becomes the sole anchor and largest investor in Fidelity's tokenized fund, FDIT. For those that did miss this announcement, yes, building on Fidelity Digital Interest Token, FDIT, OUSG fund is the sole anchor of this. Peter Curley, appointed head of global regulatory affairs. For those that don't know, he brings decades of experience shaping financial policy at Coinbase, the SEC, even the U.S. Department of the Treasury, and also Hong Kong Exchanges and Clearing. And yes, he is joining ONDO. We also have WisdomTree joins the Global Markets Alliance, another big player added to that list. I mean, that list is substantial around the Global Markets Alliance. That alliance is huge. Then also, ONDO's USDY yield coin launches on Stellar. ONDO also published an open letter to the World Federation of Exchanges. This was regarding the growing adoption of tokenized securities and how big this space could essentially be and what it does for securities as well. So again, September was a huge month for ONDO, and it kind of feels as if every single month is great for ONDO. However, most people are just overlooking what ONDO is doing. I mean, this post alone has only 62,000 views. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me that ONDO is not, nearly as big as some of these other projects because of how big ONDO is around the tokenization space. Looking at ONDO right now, $1.76 billion in total value, up almost 17% in the last 30 days, 105 assets tokenized. We also have monthly transfer volume over almost $784 million. Monthly active addresses and holders are up in a big way. And we can see the growth here. Now, yes, most of this is on Ethereum. I'm sure that a lot of this value will also touch other networks on this list. And if we're looking at asset classes, stocks on ONDO are up over 1,000+% in the last 30 days, over $306 million. US Treasuries over $1.4 billion. But again, just taking a quick look at the list here, I mean, stocks on ONDO are growing in a big way. But also looking at the stocks, right? Like here's tokenized stocks, 1.35 billion. Most of that value is tied back to ONDO. Yes, Securitize has over like $874 million, but you cannot buy Securitize in this space. You cannot invest into Securitize coin or anything like that. ONDO is the only one here in terms of those platforms. So ONDO is technically number one on this list by investable crypto projects. But looking at this list, it's crazy to see how quick, tokenized stocks are heating up. I mean, it's wild to see, but ONDO accelerated the push on tokenized stocks. And now with the SEC and regulatory, push is happening around stocks as well to get tokenized, I feel like this space is going to grow rapidly. I mean, just previously to this announcement with ONDO, I mean, tokenized stocks were hovering around like $300 million. We added over $1 billion since pretty much September. I mean, it's crazy to think about that, but that's how fast tokenized stocks are heating up. But we could also see it over here, right? This is ONDO Global Markets is driving adoption of tokenized stocks and ETFs. Data from Artemis highlights consistent TVL growth, millions in daily volume, tokenized ETF adoption outpacing tokenized stocks. ONDO Finance is setting the standard for on-chain capital markets. And looking at this graph, this is the graph of those tokenized stocks on ONDO going absolutely insane. I mean, from zero to almost $300 million. And at this point, yeah, they do have $300 million tied to them. It's 306. But from zero to $306 million in less than a month. Think about how fast that happened. It's crazy. Adoption is only continuing to surge, especially at a time where we know that tokenization is going to be the biggest thing around crypto. It's going to bring every single traditional asset class on chain, every single dollar on these markets on chain as well. And even TradFi guys like Vlad Tenev, who is the CEO and co-founder of Robinhood, said, PSA, tokenization will eat the entire global financial system. Thank you for listening, because there was a conversation with Vlad Znev at Token 2049 where he essentially said the same exact thing, that tokenization is changing every single one of these asset classes. It's bringing tokenized stocks on chain. Every piece of the global financial system is being disrupted by tokenization, and it's happening now. Over here, we have how soon until $5 trillion in tokenized assets. The thing with these assets is they always follow a hockey stick curve. These numbers are currently more achievable than one would think. This is from Ian Desbode from ONDO. He's discussing tokenization's exponential growth at CBOS. Check it out.
The thing with these assets, though, is they always follow a hockey stick curve, right?
Exactly.
So 5 trillion right now seems like a lot, but if you look at how liquidity begets liquidity and the growth that we're seeing in stable coins right now, once that there's a regulatory framework, I think the U.S. Treasury says 2030 or something, and then a couple $1 trillion. I mean, I think it can happen sooner if Treasury decides to start putting treasuries on chain themselves, or if a couple of large FMIs decides to do whatever. These numbers are actually more achievable than one would think, as long as a specific asset class actually starts moving on chain wholesale and you get true hockey stick adoption.
And we're starting to see that happening right now. I mean, listen, this has been the year where stablecoins have become, over 1% of the global M2 supply. Every TradFi guy is now talking about tokenization at scale. The biggest asset management companies out there are moving their funds on chain. I mean, it truly is a special time to be in crypto. I mean, this is one of the craziest years that we've seen around crypto in history. And it's just beginning. Like, it's crazy to think that this is just the start of a much larger shift happening. And, some of these projects, like when we were thinking about some of these projects like ONDO, or, we talk about XRP quite a bit, or HBAR quite a bit as well. I mean, some of these projects are destined for some massive amounts of growth. I mean, the exponential growth rate around tokenized assets is only going to continue to heat up more and more. But this is also why we focus on these projects that are so boring, that are still trading in this sideways move, because, in the future, we're going to look back at this chart and ONDO is going to be trading somewhere up here in like some crazy price level. And everyone's going to say, wow, I wish I would have paid attention at that point. And again, it's so clear. It's so, I just feel like it's so obvious when we're looking at what's happening here around ONDO. We're looking at the stats. We're looking at the data, because the data doesn't lie. We're seeing this on chain. We're seeing that growth rate happen in real time. And all you have to do is really pay attention. But also, we just heard another, this is again from Ian Desbode. This is another video clip. This is at the NYSE. How do you truly get global access to assets that people really want, like U.S. capital markets? Tokenization actually helps quite a lot. Financial access should be global, not geographical. Tokenization is how we get there. Because again, what tokenization is enabling, it's not just, the efficiencies of what, crypto offers. Like, for example, low cost transactions, faster transactions. It's not just that, right? It's also access. It's crazy to see, how big tokenization stablecoins have become. But when we really think about it, it's not that crazy, because this right now, what we're seeing in front of us, like these dollar amounts that we're seeing in front of us, like billions of dollars, it's just like, this is just drops of water in the bucket. Because once we start to see people realize the power of tokenization and stablecoins and just crypto itself, these values are going to grow 10, 100, 1,000x. And again, even then, it's still crazy to think that we're still going to be undervalued on some of these valuations. And, even with tokenization, we just hit $33 billion. A 10x from here is $330 billion. A 100x is, $3.3 trillion. A 1000x is 30 plus trillion. They're expecting this market to hit like over $300 plus trillion. Global real estate is over $300 plus trillion. So 10,000x growth rate for tokenization long term. It might not happen in 5 years or 10 years, but yeah, it will eventually become a reality. And that's where a lot of these projects like ONDO are just going to continue to experience significant amounts of growth. So check out this video clip and then we'll wrap things up.
You mentioned the word traditional. You and I are here at the New York Stock Exchange on the trading floor, and When we think about the intersection of TradFi and DeFi, we're talking about tokenization. So what does what you're doing actually mean for the future of not just TradFi, but also finance overall?
Yeah, I think when you look at the current state of financial services, it has clearly done quite a few things really well. But one of the key things that historically has not been that great is the concept of global access. How do you truly get global access to assets that people really want, like the US dollar, like US capital markets? The other area where traditional finance has lacked a little bit is really enabling cross-border payments and doing that in a 24/7 way, or really 24/7 movement of assets across borders. And for both of those things, tokenization actually helps quite a bit.
And this is also why we will just continue to see increased adoption, is because the second that people realize these benefits, I mean, it's just going to accelerate. It's going to be that hockey stick moment where, you know, things just do this, except on a much larger scale. And it's kind of crazy, but this is really just the beginning for ONDO. So when we are going back to ONDO and my price prediction for this cycle, I think $5 easily achievable for ONDO. I also think that this is one of those projects that people should be looking at holding long-term as well. I just think that ONDO is going to be a much bigger project in this space. We're sitting at number 41 right now. By the end of the cycle, we could probably easily be in like the top, I would say the top 20, maybe even top 15, potentially top 10, depending on, you know, how things look. But I really think that ONDO is severely overlooked and undervalued. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely